Zhao's good graces should you flout your sworn duties as Terran servicemen in the future. Do I make myself clear? As a Solarian's conscience, Admiral, Colonel Moon replied with surprising flair and good humor, nearly causing Jenkins to break into a smile. Wallace gave Moon a withering look before turning his attention to the woman seated beside him. This is Lieutenant Commander Ulbricht of the New American Navy. The middle-aged seagoing woman nodded deferentially as Wallace continued. Let's cut to it. The Vorr need our help, and we've convened this meeting to address which branches of the Terran armed forces will participate in the op. Moon, Jenkins, and Xi seated themselves to General Pushkin's left, while Admiral Wallace pulled up a holographic image of a bleak-looking world, the majority of which was covered in dark gray rock. The planet's visual monotony was broken only by a handful of tiny oceans, and before Jenkins could identify it from memory, he heard Xi to his left ask, VX-0978? That's right, Major. This is a world in Vorr space where our aquatic friends appear to have uncovered some sort of archaeological site. They were in the process of excavating it when a Jemmin gatecrasher. The hollow image of the planet was replaced by one of the most terrifying warships in Nexus space, broke through the Vorr line at the Nexus and made straight for this world. The Vorr pursued and ultimately destroyed the gatecrasher, but not before it neutralized nearly every piece of Vorr military hardware in the star system. The Vorr have thus far been unable to extricate themselves from their ongoing battle for the Nexus and divert assets to VX-0978. Of concern and interest to Fleet, they've found that Jemmin's targeting systems preferentially bracket ships bearing the necessary equipment to go down and extract the artifacts and other materials the Vorr have been digging up, which we'll refer to in this brief as the Pearl. How many Jemmin forces remain in orbit over the Pearl, Admiral? Jenkins asked. Unknown, Wallace replied flatly. At last count, there were at least a dozen fighters and one nearly hulked Jemmin warship in overwatch of the dig site. Since the gatecrasher was destroyed, no traffic has gone into or out of the Pearl's system. We've independently verified the Nexus side has been cleared since the Vorr fleet returned, but the Vorr have restricted our people from moving in survey teams to the site. They don't want us poking around for ourselves, Moon mused. That'd be the smart guess, Wallace agreed. Jemmin's got a hard-on for this world, people, and it's only a matter of time before anything of value on the Pearl is destroyed by whatever Jemmin forces remain there. The Vorr have given us an insertion window in 3 days' time, but we have to keep the force small. To wit, no more than 2 ships, neither of which can be larger than a cruiser, can go to the Pearl. Let me be blunt. This mission is tailor-made for the Terran Marines, Wallace continued smugly, drawing a soft snort from General Pushkin and causing the Admiral to adopt a muted look of irritation. But Commander Ulbricht made the radical suggestion of using TAC supporting elements instead. After consulting with my staff, I thought it would be prudent to hear Armor Corps' take on the situation before making a decision. Pushkin leaned forward confidently. The Metal Legion is prepared to go where others can't or won't. This is nothing unusual to us. I'm more concerned, Colonel Moon interjected, about the mission profile. If I remember my latest org charts, Commander Ulbricht is assigned to the submarine recovery team of the American Navy's Third Fleet. Is that correct, Commander? Ulbricht nodded approvingly. It is, Colonel. Which means, Jenkins continued, his brow lowering in contemplation, that we're talking about dropping deep-dive submarines from orbit in a can? He'd never read about anything like this being attempted in Terran Armed Forces history. Usually, subs, in the rare events during which they were needed, would be lowered from orbit on the tethered platforms normally used to retrieve mechs or other bulky assets from a planet's surface. But a combat drop of submarines? It was completely unheard of. Obviously, conveying them to the dig site will require heavy haulers, similar to those we used in